the main guy may or may not read those romance books to know how to please her. And I'm like, excuse me, that is the standard for men. Like, if you don't do that, I don't want it, you know? He made her a playlist. That's literally my love language. Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be filming my monthly reading wrap up for the month of August. I had the best reading month I've had in a very long time this month. I read 10 books, I think, 10, 11 books, which is so good for me. I haven't read that many books in a very long time. Usually I read like 7, 8 books, but I don't know, I read a lot of books on my Kindle this month, which I think contributed to me reading a lot of books because I read faster, as many people do, on their Kindle or on their phone. Reading ebooks, I read a lot faster than paperbacks, and I read quite a few ebooks this month, so I think that's why I got so many reads in. But I read so many good books and I'm so excited to share them all with you guys today. So let's just go ahead and get into all the books that I read this month. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the paperbacks that I read this month. I only read 3. So the first one was Set on You by Amy Lee. I finally read it. You guys know this was a book that's been on my TBR for the past couple of months since it came out, but I still hadn't read it, and I finally read it this month and I tabbed it and it was so good. I gave this one 4 stars and I absolutely loved it. It was so much better than I thought. Like, I knew I was, like, obviously I was so excited to read it and couldn't wait, and then I put it off for so long. But it's one of those books that, like, you put it off and you put it off, and then when you read it you're like, why did I put it off for so long? Because it was so good. I loved the characters, I loved the body positivity in this book, and it was just so good. So this follows Scott and Crystal, and Crystal is a curvy fitness influencer. She goes to the gym regularly. She has her own Instagram page where she films like reels or like videos, like, and she helps people out with their fitness. And Scott is a firefighter and they meet at the gym. I think he's using her equipment, like her, like, she put her stuff there to use it, and then he like went and like started using it, and she was like, hello, like, could you not see my stuff? And he kind of like ignores her, and it's enemies to lovers. At first they do not get along, they do not like each other, and then they end up kind of being forced to spend a lot of time around each other. Obviously they both go to the same gym, and so they're seeing each other there, but something's happening with their families. I don't want to say too much, but they're forced to kind of be around each other a lot, and slowly they start to realize, you know, maybe they didn't hate each other as much as they thought they did. And it's definitely boy falls first, like hardcore. This is only told in Crystal's POV, but I feel like you could tell that Scott was definitely falling for her, and I really enjoyed this one. Like I said, gave it 4 stars, and I definitely recommend you guys read it. It's really good. Plus, cute cartoon cover. We love it. Scott is literally the hottest. Stunning. The next book that I read was also one of my anticipated releases that I put off reading, who knows why, and I finally read it this month, and that is The Infinity Between Us by N.S. Perkins. And I'm not gonna lie, this one let me down a little bit. I was so excited to read this and I thought I was going to absolutely love it. I gave it 3.75 stars. I did enjoy it. I just felt like, I don't know, I just didn't love it as much as, like, it's the same type of vibe as Love and Other Words and like Every Summer After and stuff like that. So it follows Will and Violet, and they are childhood best friends who obviously, you know, have a connection and have feelings for each other, and things happen between them when they're younger, and then something happens that pulls them apart, and they haven't seen each other in 5 years. But the house that they used to live in together, they used to have a beach house together, so it wasn't like them being like neighbors or anything. It's kind of like the Summer I Turned Pretty vibes, where they stay at the beach house and they live there together, but it's kind of that mixed with like a bit of like Love and Other Words energy, I would describe it. And so they're one family, they own the house together, like both families, and there was a falling out between everyone, and one family wants to sell the house, one family doesn't want to sell the house, they want to renovate it, fix it up. And so Will doesn't want to sell the house, Violet does want to sell the house, so they both end up going there, and they both don't know that the other one's going to be there, and so it's kind of forced proximity. They're forced to stay there together and kind of come to a compromised decision on what they're going to do. And, you know, while they're there, they are obviously going to talk about the past and fall back in love. Will was kind of everything, I loved him, and a couple of the quotes in here were phenomenal, but it just like didn't hit for me like I wanted it to, and I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. But I will say this book is surprisingly spicy. Like, sorry, Will, hello? Because I've read N.S. Perkins' first book, A Risk on Forever, and that book, like, it has spice in it, but it's not like anything crazy. But this, the stuff that Will was saying, Mr. Dirty Talker, oh my goodness. I was like, where is this coming from? Because he's kind of like the shy, kind of reserved, like elegant from Love and Other Words vibes, like how that is. But then he like shook me. I was like, oh my goodness. And I really like that aspect of it. But yeah, I don't know, like I liked their relationship. It was like cute, and I liked the problem in this book, like the reason, their big reason for like their falling out. I felt like it was like a really big, like valid thing, whereas in some of the other books that are like this, it's kind of like a thing that's not as big of a deal as they're making it out to be. But this one was like, it shook me. It was kind of like plot twisty, not plot twisty, but it was just like a thing that you wouldn't be expecting to happen, and I was like, oh my goodness, no way. And I really liked that aspect. But yeah, it just didn't hit as hard as I wanted it to. And then the last paperback that I read this month was Counting Down With You by Tashi, but I'm not even gonna try, I'm gonna butcher it. And I finally read it, and it was so good. I gave it 4 stars, I think. I didn't love it as much as I thought I was going to, but I still did really enjoy it. It is YA, and it is bad boy good girl. So basically we have our main character Karina, and she is the good girl, the reserved. She doesn't really, I think her family's from Bangladesh, I believe, and her parents are super strict on her and don't let her like date, want her to be a doctor, want her to focus on her education, no boys, no like anything fun basically. And they end up going away for 28 days, and so she is kind of free to do whatever she wants essentially. And so she ends up having to tutor Ace, the bad boy at the school. Bad boy. Are the bad boys ever really bad boys in these books? Probably not. But he is struggling with English, and English happens to be Karina's favorite subject, so she ends up tutoring him, but he doesn't want anyone to kind of know that he's being tutored by her, so he proposes that they fake date. And in exchange for fake dating him, he's going to buy her a dozen books a week. Like, hello, could it get any more perfect? And yeah, but he ends up being the absolute sweetest character. I just felt like he was a little bit too perfect. Like, I loved him and the things he did for her, the things he said, like everything. He made her a playlist. That's literally my love language. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, this is everything. And the playlist is really good. The songs slap. And there was Harry Styles in there, so you know, I'm convinced. But like, he was just too perfect. I was like, oh my god, like I need some sort of flaw, like come on. But I really did enjoy it. There was a lot of representation for her culture and like what it's like to, you know, obviously have very strict parents, and I really enjoyed that. It was a little frustrating at times, as you can imagine, like if you do have like those type of parents, like you would get it. And I feel like that's what the author wanted. They wanted you to be like frustrated with her family. But overall I really enjoyed it. Now moving on to all the books I read on my Kindle, which is majority of them. So the first book that I read on my Kindle this month was The Wrong Mr. Right by Stephanie Archer. I gave this one 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I kept getting TikToks of like different scenes from this book, and oh my goodness, I just had to read it. And this follows Wyatt and Hannah, and basically Hannah is the quiet girl who's super reserved. She owns a bookstore and she loves reading romance novels, and so basically me. And she is kind of sick of being boring, and she wants to, you know, learn how to be more confident and kind of date. And so she ends up asking Wyatt, who I believe they went to school together maybe, and they're both in their like mid-20s now. He's a surfer, he's a little bit of like a bad boy player type of thing, and he's super hot and we love him. And so she ends up asking him to kind of teach her how to, you know, act around guys, how to date, how to, I don't remember if it's like sexually, it might be, but I don't remember. But yeah, so he ends up being her kind of like love tutor, and it's kind of fake dating vibes-ish, but not really. There's definitely a jealousy trope in here, which I love. The spice, top tier, stunning, and yeah, he's just kind of teaching her, but it's kind of on his terms. and I love it. But he helps her like come out of her shell so much and like kind of embrace who she really is and go after what she wants and things like that. And I absolutely love this. The spice, like I said, top tier. He may or may not read her favorite book. That doesn't convince you. I don't know what will. And I loved it. It was just so freaking good. And then the next book that I read was Boyfriend Material by Easton Madden Mills. This was an anticipated release for me this month, and I'm not gonna lie, it let me down a little bit. I gave it 3 stars. This is the second book in a companion novel series. She wrote the first book years ago and I read it last year. I believe it's called Boyfriend Bargain, and I enjoyed that one. Wasn't my favorite thing ever, but I enjoyed it. And then she announced that there was going to be a book about Eric, the main guy in the first book's best friend, who was super intriguing to me in the first book. He was just like that funny, fun character who I really like loved, and I was so excited for his book. But it like been years since that book came out and she still hadn't released it. But she finally released it this year. It's called Boyfriend Material. It's about Eric and Julia, and it's a second chance romance. So basically they dated in high school and they were like madly in love, and well, she was madly in love with him, and then he kind of like fucked her over. And it's been a few years now and they're both in college. They both go to the same college, and Julia's kind of struggling a lot with just life in general. Her mum is a drug addict, I believe. She's like tied up in some stuff that's not good, and she's struggling for money, and she ends up running into Eric, and he kind of like helps her out, and they kind of like obviously still have that like chemistry that they used to have when they were younger, and he's kind of determined to win her back in a way, but she's super hesitant because she was like super hurt by him. And yeah, obviously things kind of go from there and end up happening between them. And yeah, it just wasn't my favorite. I just felt like, I don't know, I just didn't really like the characters, didn't really connect with, like, I really loved Eric in Boyfriend Bargain, but I just felt like he wasn't like the same character in this book almost, and I just like didn't really feel anything with their relationship, and like I didn't really care, and I kind of just wanted to finish the book. And yeah, it wasn't my favorite, unfortunately, which is super disappointing. But then I read Blindside by Candy Stevia, I don't even know. This book, I got so many TikToks of this book. So many TikToks, because the main girl, Gianna, loves romance books, and the main guy may or may not read those romance books to know how to please her. And I'm like, excuse me, that is the standard for men. Like, if you don't do that, I don't want it. You know? Everything. Obsessed. I gave this book 4.75 stars. I don't know, I just felt like there was that little bit missing that wasn't quite the 5 stars for me, and I don't know what it was, but overall, obsessed. Love this book. Can't wait for the next book in the series. I believe that like a series, but they're not really. So this follows Gianna and Clay, and Gianna is the PR like manager for their football team in college. Clay plays on the football team, and Clay has just gone through a big heartbreak. His high school sweetheart shattered his soul, and he is very upset, very kind of depressed about this, and he is not on top of his game, and Gianna is obviously the one that has to kind of get him back there, and they end up fake dating because Gianna wants to get, it's kind of The Deal by Elle Kennedy vibes, because Gianna wants to get this guy who she's been like crushing on for ages, but she doesn't know how to get his attention, and Clay wants to win back his ex. And so they come to this agreement where they're gonna fake date to try, he's gonna teach her and help her get his attention, just like Garrett does in The Deal, and in turn, hopefully it'll make his ex jealous, and then they'll want to get back together. But obviously, it's a fake dating romance, things aren't really gonna go to plan, he might fall for her, and yeah, I'm obsessed. It was so good, the way he read her favourite romance novels, because obviously she annotates them and annotates all the things she likes, and he reads them so he knows how to please her and knows what she likes. And I was like, stop it right now, I cannot deal with this. The smut in this book, top tier spicy scenes, I loved it, and it was just so good, and I cannot wait to read more from this author. I believe she wrote A Love Letter to Whiskey, which has been on my TBR for ages. I have the book up there on my shelf actually, but that book is apparently very heartbreaking, and I just don't know if I'm ready for that emotional damage yet. But I really loved her writing style, super easy to read, read this in like a day, loved it. Then I read Getting Real by Emma Chase. Once again, got a few TikToks of this, sounded really good, single parent, trope. He's a doctor, she's a nurse. Sounds perfect. Didn't like it. I gave this one 3 stars. I just didn't really love the writing style, didn't really like the pacing of the book. It was very fast paced. The book was quite short, it was only about 250 pages, but still they got together in like the first 20% of the book. And I was like, sorry? Where's the little bit of slow burn? Like I need a little bit. Like I was just, and then I was kind of like bored. And then, so basically, this book follows Connor and Violet, and Connor is a divorced single dad with 3 kids, I believe. He has 3 boys. And Violet is a nurse at the same hospital. She's a nurse at the hospital that he works at, and she has had the biggest crush on him for the longest time. And everyone kind of wants them, like he has I think 3 brothers or something, and the brothers are all like, go for it and like get with her, and then things kind of end up happening, and I think they go on like, he takes her as a date to a wedding or something, I don't even know, but then they like literally kiss in the first like 20% of the book, and I'm like, oh, okay, and then like they're in love by like the 50% mark, and I'm just like, oh, okay, like I just felt like I just like needed something to go a bit slower. I don't know, I just didn't love it. Then I read Flawless by Elise Silver. This book, oh my goodness, 5 stars, everything. I'm now into cowboys. Like country, hello, sign me up, because he freaking, what's his name, Rhett? Oh my goodness, Mr. Cowboy Bull Rider, give it to me. This book. Basically, this is about Summer and Rhett, and Summer is the daughter of his like manager, like the company that manages him, and Rhett is a famous bull rider, and he is in a little bit of trouble with the public, and essentially his manager is like, I'm gonna send my daughter and she is going to essentially be your babysitter, look after you, keep you in line, make sure you're not like fucking around or doing anything. And Rhett is obviously very upset about this. He's like, I'm not a child, I don't need a babysitter, like I don't need you to babysit me. And Summer's like, well, that's a bit too bad, like this is my job and I'm gonna do it. And they do not like each other whatsoever. Hardcore enemies to lovers, but Summer is determined to, you know, do her job and get things done, and Rhett is just like not having it, but it's forced proximity. They stay at the same house, his like dad's like ranch or something, and they're staying there together, going on like all the tours for his bull riding. And obviously things gonna happen. It's definitely boy falls first. He ends up, you know, catching a little bit of feelings, and Summer's super hesitant because she's like, I want to remain professional, like I don't want to, you know, mess up our professional relationship and whatever. But he's kind of like, well, I really like you, I know you like me, like, and things eventually do happen. Spicy scenes, top notch. The smut in this book, phenomenal. Like, I want to read more from this author. I believe that this is going to be a series as well, because he has 2 brothers, and so I think that the brothers are going to get books. Because the second book in the series is called Heartless or something, it's off the page, and that's going to be about the second brother who's mega grumpy, and it's single dad. You guys know I love it. So I'm super excited to read that one, because I know it's going to be good. But yeah, 5 stars, stunning. I need to read more books where there is countrymen. Give me the recs, give me all the recs, I need them, because this book was so good. The next book I read was Nanny for the Neighbours by Lily Gold, and if you guys have watched my last month reading wrap up, you would know that I read Faking with Benefits by Lily Gold, which is a reverse harem rom-com, and this is another reverse harem rom-com, and I really liked it. I didn't like it as much as Faking with Benefits, but I did really enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars, and basically this follows Beth, Sebastian, Cyrus, and Jack, and it is a reverse harem, of course, and basically they are 3 best friends. They live together in their apartment, and they like to share their female partners. They like to all date the one girl. Essentially, that's what reverse harem is. And so they have done this in the past, where they've all slept with the same girl, and they end up being left a baby on their doorstep. And they're men. They're in their like 20s, late 20s, 30s. They don't really know how to look after a child. And their next door neighbor, Beth, is a like kindergarten teacher. She's like an early childhood educator, and so she knows how to look after kids, and they basically knock on her door and they're like, we need your help to look after this kid, like can you please help us? And she's like, she has a massive crush on one of the guys, and so she's like, yeah, like of course I'll come help you, and she ends up being their nanny. Obviously there is Jack, who is mega hottie, the guy she has a crush on, the one she's super into. Then there's Cyrus, who's the sweetheart. He is such a sweetie and I love him, and he's super into her too. And then there's Sebastian, the grumpy one, who hates everything and everyone, and he doesn't want a bar of it, but he's also super attracted to her. And yeah, she ends up sleeping with them all, because when you have 3 hot men, what are you to do really except sleep with them all? And you know, it's stunning. Spice top tier, comedy top tier. This book is hilarious. The child in the book was literally adorable, and I love all of the boys, and it was great. The next book that I read is Mercy by Sarah Kate. This was an anticipated release for me, the 4th book in the Scandalous Players Club series, which is basically a series about all the club owners of the Scandalous Players Club. So you have Praise, which is stunning, Eyes on Me, and then Give Me More. You guys know I've loved those 3 books. And then you have Mercy, which is about the 4th owner of the club, Maggie, and you kind of see snippets of her throughout all the other books, and you kind of see that she's kind of like not as into the club as everyone else, because she kind of grew up in a conservative household where she was told that, you know, sex is bad and you should, you know, be waiting till marriage, and if you don't, you're sinning, and basically be ashamed of your sexuality. And so she's kind of like super hesitant to take, you know, their quiz. And basically Scandalous Players Club is a club that they've created based off an app that matches you with people based on your kinks, and then they ended up making it into a club, like a sex club type of thing, where you can go there, you can meet up with them, they have like rooms and stuff you can go into, they have like people performing, stuff like that. And you get to see that all throughout the other books, and then you get to Maggie's book, and this one is something that I have never read before. It's basically about Maggie and Beau. Beau is the son of the guy in the first book, and you kind of see him in the first book and how much of an asshole he is, and then he gets his character development in this book, and I ended up really loving him, and I loved their relationship. I gave this one 3.75 stars. I did enjoy it, and it was something definitely different and fun to read, but it just wasn't. I did enjoy it. Sarah Kate writes phenomenal spice, and just like the character development for Beau, I loved Beau and Maggie's relationship. But this is a dominant submissive relationship, except Maggie is the dominant one and Beau is the submissive one, and he is kind of a dick and super hesitant about the whole club thing, but then he takes the quiz as just like a fun little thing, and then finds out that he's actually submissive, and he's like, what? No, that's not right, I'm not going to submit to a woman, like what the fuck? And Maggie takes the quiz and she finds out that she's dominant, and based on like her personality, she's kind of a control freak. You kind of expect that to happen, and they end up getting matched together, and it's one of those relationships where they know each other online and they know each other in real life, but they don't know it's the same person, and then they end up like, you know, meeting up and things end up happening between them. And Beau's character development, like I said, phenomenal. I loved their relationship together, but I also felt like she was kind of like it's an age gap, but she's older and he's younger, so she's 34 and he's 22, I think. But it just kind of felt like she was babying him a little bit. Like obviously she is his dominant and she can like tell him what to do, and he has to like obey whatever in the bedroom, but like that relationship came outside the bedroom a lot more than I would have wanted it to, because like in some aspects it was fine, but I also felt like she was kind of acting like his mother, and that just made me a little bit uncomfortable. I was like, you're literally treating him like a child. Like, I don't like it. That's kind of the only reason that I didn't really love it. But other than that, like I loved it. I was like, women empowerment, we love that she's the dominant one. But like personally, not my vibe. I definitely prefer it when the guy's dominant. But I did really enjoy this for what it was, and it was something different. And I definitely would be intrigued to reading more books like this, but yeah, I just felt like she was kind of treating him like her kid, and I didn't really love that. Last book that I read this month is Royally Not Ready by Megan Quinn, her latest release, and I gave this one 5 stars. I just finished this one yesterday and I am obsessed. It was so good. Picture Twisted Games by Anna Huang, but a rom-com. That's literally what it was. It's basically a bodyguard princess relationship, and essentially this follows Keller and Lily, and Lily has no idea that she is basically royalty, and the king of their country is very sick at the moment, and he doesn't have anyone who's next in line to the throne because all of the his other grandsons and daughters have all been off doing their own thing, and he needs someone who's next in line. And he has a granddaughter who is Lily, but Lily has no idea because she hasn't grown up in this environment, and so he gets Keller, who's his like kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, just like his like right hand man type of thing, to go find Lily and basically tell her that she is a queen and she needs to come and be next in line to the throne and train to be a queen. And Lily is kind of like, what the heck is happening? Like, there's no way. And it's definitely hardcore enemies to lovers, and they end up, you know, staying together. It's forced proximity. He's around her all the time, kind of like her bodyguard, and teaching her how to be a queen, training her through everything and getting her prepared to take the throne. And obviously forced proximity, they're going to be around each other all the time. They do not like each other. The tension between them, oh my goodness. She's hilarious. This book was so funny. I was laughing so much, and Keller is just everything. He's ultimate grumpy, she's ultimate sunshine. It's so good. He hates everything and everyone but her, and he ends up, you know, falling first for her, and then things end up happening. But he's super hesitant because he's basically comes from a family of servants, and he's like, I can't, like, nothing can happen between us because like I'm meant to be a servant and you're royalty, and like that can't happen. I don't want to ruin like the professional relationship. And he's like super like battling in his head, but he also really likes her, he's really attracted to her, and she's kind of like I don't care, just like be with me. And so good. He does some serious groveling, so if you love that trope, this one's for you. Spicy scenes, top tier. Megan Quinn knows how to write smart. And oh my goodness, there's one quote that I'm thinking of that just like, ugh, shattered me. It was everything. I love this book. So good, and I cannot wait for the second one in the series. But yeah, that was the last book I read this month. Stunning, beautiful, phenomenal, so many good reads, amazing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys!